That's why Manny Pacquiao, after Marquez knocked him out, Freddie Roach said, I want you to take a year off. That was a bad knockout.
Manny Pacquiao is negotiating with Barrios to fight at 147. No team. I haven't heard one team. So guess what?
What happens when a man steps into the ring with a legend whose spirit has never retired? And what do you do when that legend's return feels less like a fairy tale and more like a dangerous gamble with fate?
Since we know that Mario Barrios and Manny Pacquiao has been in serious negotiations.
There are boxing stories, and then there are epics. And this right here is all the makings of an explosive Greek tragedy wrapped in Vegas neon. Joe Rogan, never one to pull punches with his words, has stepped up with a bold, sobering warning. Mario Barrios, don't do it. Don't stand across the ring from Manny Pacquiao, not because Pacquiao is a monster he once was, but because the very act of this fight being allowed to happen raises every red flag possible.
Let me ask, is it a good fight? Mario Barrios versus Tank Davis at 147. Yes, it is!
Start with the basics. Manny Pacquiao is 46 years old. That's not just a number, it's a timeline of war. He's got 72 fights under his belt, and every one of those left a dent. His hands have been weapons since the late 90s. His wars with Morales, Pereira, Marquez, and Mayweather are now etched into the stone tablets of boxing's Mount Olympus. But Father Time doesn't play favorites. It doesn't matter if you're the pride of the Philippines or multi-time world champion. The clock runs out on everyone.
Oh, you're 30, he's 46, hasn't fought in 4 years. Like, in your mind, how do you see the fight going? How are you going to beat Manny?
And yet here he is again, announced with the kind of showbiz glitz you'd expect from a Tyson comeback or YouTube influence bout. Pacquiao's return to the ring isn't just shocking, it's troubling. This isn't just a warm-up fight. He's not taking on a retired welterweight for charity. No, he's going straight into the fire, challenging Mario Barrios for a world title. You heard that right. The WBC sanctioned this madness. A 46-year-old inactive, unranked fighter is now fighting for a belt against a man in his prime.
Or what do you see yourself doing to him?
Yeah, no, I just had to use, all of that, like the, as crazy as I've been in my career.
Joe Rogan's face might say it best. Somewhere between disbelief and a slow-forming migraine on his podcast, in between jokes and jabs, Rogan made it crystal clear this is a kind of thing that could end badly, really badly.
World titles in 8 different weight classes. Who the does that?
And the way he did it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Cotto. I love this dude.
Now let's be clear. Barrios isn't exactly the second coming of Sugar Ray Leonard, but he's 30. He's fresh, he's active, and he hasn't spent the last 4 years trading jabs with retirement. While Pacquiao was dealing with political responsibilities, shaking hands, and delivering speeches in a suit, Barrios was still in the trenches, still sweating in gyms, still cutting weight, and still eating lead on sparring days. So why, in the name of everything sacred, is this fight happening? Money. That's the only honest answer. Cold, hard, brutal economics. Boxing has stopped pretending to be a sport built on rankings and resumes. It's a carnival now. Fights are booked for pay-per-view buys, not for merit. And Pacquiao still pulls numbers. His name still draws clicks. He's a living legend with a fan base larger than some country populations. But that doesn't mean he belongs in the ring, especially not against Barrios.
He come from I think 108 all the way to 154 and knock out all these guys.
This is where Joe Rogan's warning becomes prophecy, because what's at stake here isn't just a belt. It's a man's legacy, a man's health, and a man's future. Pacquiao's been knocked out before. Remember the Marquez shot, that nuclear right hand that put him face down, lifeless and motionless? There wasn't a breath in the room when he fell. That wasn't just a loss. That was a heart attack for fans worldwide. And now we're supposed to believe that older, slower, and long and active, he can walk into a championship fight and not just survive but win? This isn't a Rocky movie. There's no magical training montage that reverses biology. There's no magic footwork drill that restores reaction time. No amount of jogging in the hills with Freddie Roach holding a stopwatch is going to fix what 4 years away from the game is.
Thank you to Manny Pacquiao. Unbelievable career that We may never have a career like that again.
Spencer Oliver, a former fighter turned analyst, said it without mincing words. This is a farce. This is a sport abandoning logic. Pacquiao's last performance wasn't inspiring. It was a fading echo of greatness. He didn't just lose to your Dennis Yugas. He looked human, slower, flatter, disconnected. The spark was dim. And yet the WBC ranks him at number 5'5". On what basis past glory? If that's a new rule, then let's bring back Mike Tyson. For another heavyweight belt, why not let's call up Lennox Lewis? Throw him a belt and book a trilogy with Vitaly Klitschko. Forget merit, forget rankings, just nostalgia. Fight your way to the top. The critics are right. This is a kind of absurdity that kills credibility. Barrios should be defending his title against real contenders, young blood, hungry fighters, grinding it out, clawing up the rankings like they're supposed and not a retired senator stepping back into the ring like it's 2010 all over again. Frank Warren. Ever the businessman didn't sugarcoat it either. Pacquiao's return isn't a sporting miracle, it's a marketing ploy. George Foreman did it once, sure, but that was lightning in a bottle. Foreman had a style that aged well. He leaned on size, power, and experience. He wasn't trying to move like a hummingbird. Pacquiao style, by contrast, his speed, explosiveness, angles. That's what made him great. That's what he can't replicate at 46.
That's why Manny Pacquiao, after Marquez knocked him out, Freddie Roach said, I want you to take a year off. That was a bad knockout.
And the damage isn't just to the sport's reputation, it's potentially to Pacquiao himself. Boxing isn't a forgiving game, it's not golf, it's not tennis. You don't lose gracefully, you lose with broken bones, bruised brains. And sometimes you don't come back the same. Think about this, a 30-year-old Barrios lands clean, it only takes one. The chin doesn't age like fine wine, it weakens. And Pacquiao's chin has already seen more missiles than the battlefield has been. KO had dropped and rattled more times than fans care to count. Every fight adds up, and at this stage the risks multiply. Even De La Hoya, Pacquiao's former victim in the ring, couldn't keep quiet. His message was blunt at 46. Rest is your best friend. Pacquiao might still have a killer instinct, but his body's ability to follow through, that's another story. Your Dennis Yugas, the man who handed Pacquiao his last loss, made a chilling observation: nobody wins this fight if Barrios wins it. Because Manny was old. If Manny wins, it's because boxing lost its standards. Either way, someone's getting discredited. Let's not forget Barrios doesn't benefit much here. It's a lose-lose. Beat up a 46-year-old, and you get zero credit. Lose to one, and your meme is a villain no matter what.
Kids, man, it's that man. He looked like he was on all the good stuff.
Looks like his piss would melt a styrofoam cup.
Him too, always respectful, couldn't hide his concern. Pacquiao's name carries weight, but that won't hold up under Barrios' fists. This isn't sparring, this isn't hitting mitts with Roach in an Instagram video. This is live fire. You know it's bad when even fans, hardcore, loyal, bleeding Pacquiao fans, are conflicted. Nobody wants to see a hero fall. Nobody wants to watch a king crumble in slow motion under stadium lights, but that's the reality. This fight invites, and Joe Rogan, with his usual clarity, is just the messenger for the uncomfortable truth. The issue isn't Manny's heart, it's his body. His mileage, the hundreds of rounds of training camps, the weight cuts, the miles jog, adorn the sparring wars. We never saw the injuries, never disclosed. It all adds up. And maybe, just maybe, he knows this too. Maybe that's why the fight's happening now. One last dance, one last check, one last roar from the crowd before the lights dim forever. But what if that last roar ends with silence?
They drug tested him, it would ding like a carnival bell.
Like when them Bugs Bunny ones where you get the big mouth.
It's a plea for sanity, for someone somewhere to step in and say enough for Mario Barrios to ask himself if he wants to be the man who ends a legend, or the man who watched a legend fall in front of him and felt no pride. Because let's be real, if Manny Pacquiao loses badly, the headlines won't say Barrios was great, they'll say Pacquiao was done, they'll say we told you so. And if by some miracle Pacquiao wins, boxing will still lose, because the floodgates will open every retired fighter with a heartbeat, and a name will start lining up for one last payday, and the sport will slide even further into chaos. So what do we do now? We watch, we wait, we hope, perhaps foolishly, that Manny can walk out with his health, with his pride intact, with his legend unscathed, and maybe, just maybe, we hope Mario Barrios hears a warning before it's too late, because fighting Manny Pacquiao isn't just dangerous for Pacquiao, it's dangerous for the sport, for the truth, and for whatever sense of legitimacy boxing still has left. The ring lights flicker again. And here comes the real question: what happens if boxing's most thrilling storyteller walks into the pages of a cautionary tale? Imagine the scene: Pacquiao moves like he still believes in magic, and Barrios stands firm with the cold, hard mathematics of youth and power. The audience hold its breath as coaches hover ringside, tapping watches and whispering strategies like secret incantations. Every punch thrown is a syllable in a sentence that could end careers. In that moment, boxing itself becomes the author scripting tragedy or triumph, with each crack of glove on flesh.